We've got one guest joining us in the 1 o'clock hour, and that is the mother of the man who's in jail accused of creating and running the Silk Road website. And the reason that's so important, she's in studio too, isn't she? On Skype. She's here in Austin. Is that they could say if someone was talking about violence on my message board on prisonplanet.com or commenting on Infowars.com about violence, that I'm guilty and that the whole media system is guilty here under this precedent they're trying to set. And police have been caught, especially in Seattle, doing this. It even came out in mainstream news in the last decade quite a few times, that the Seattle police would sell each other drugs and then have that sealed, that a confidential informant would sell it to the officer to then get the bar or the restaurant. And the restaurant was involved in no type of drug dealing. And then the cops wouldn't even fence the seizure of the popular bar or restaurant. They would then personally own it while being police officers. And it turned out over 100 bars and restaurants were owned by cops that they'd stolen in Seattle. And it became a national scandal. That's what this is, but on the internet. And it's very, very, very dangerous. I knew a narcotics trafficking police officer when I grew up in Rockwall, Texas, outside Dallas. I went to high school there 3 years, then moved down here. And he owned a bar that he'd taken from somebody. And he was the guy running a bunch of the drugs. So I personally experienced it, and I wasn't even in the drug culture. It's just that you would see it go on. And people talked. And later, a whole bunch of them did go to jail, so that's not just speculation. The feds busted them, but that's the pot calling the kettle black. The immigration news is off the charts insane. The Middle East news is off the charts insane. The shoot down of the airliner news is off the charts insane. The Russian government has released the radar scans and data showing that there were fighter jets in and around the doomed passenger liner MH17. And now Kiev has censored MH17 air traffic control recordings. Security services confiscated tapes immediately after incident. That is now confirmed mainstream news. We're going to be breaking that down coming up here today. So I've been saying, probably the Russians shot it down just because it is a war zone and they weren't supposed to fly in that area. And everybody's been asking, who has a brain between their ears, why was the plane redirected there? And a lot of people, helicopter pilots, police officers, air traffic controllers, the last few days have been telling me on and off air that, look, I bet they had jets order it by radio or force it into that zone just because that's what experiences they've seen before. And now that's coming out. So that's why I opened the phones up to the former air traffic controllers, current ones, Air Force weapons systems people, police officer, helicopter pilots, because they know how stuff really works.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. Celebrate the spirit of 1776 with the George Washington brass belt buckle or this incredibly sharp-looking 1776 hat. Badass. And be sure to check out the new arrivals at InfoWars Life, where you can prepare your body to perform at peak levels with Survival Shield Nascent Iodine, Super Male Vitality, and Fluoride Shield. And wake up, America. Immune Support Blend is the healthy choice for the gourmet coffee lover. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
And we have a jam-packed radio/television transmission simulcast for you today. I look at the headlines up on Infowars.com. I look at the headlines on CNBC. I look on the headlines at DrudgeReport.com, WorldNet Daily, countless other sites every night and every day. And clearly what we're seeing is a world disintegrating on many fronts. But for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, Newtonian physics. There are a lot of good things happening as well, a lot of renaissance. As the old dinosaur media implodes, the new true media is launching into a new golden age. So take heart for all the negative things we talk about here. There are so many good things happening as well. Look at these headlines at DrudgeReport.com. Court rules Obamacare subsidies illegal. And so I went to look what Obama was saying to check that out. And he's saying, oh, don't worry, the subsidies will just continue. The subsidies are not going to stop. Many legal analysts are calling it a potentially crippling blow, a massive setback, premiums poised to spike for millions. Almost everyone I know had pre-existing conditions was kicked off their health care and can't get it now. I told you it was written to put you on a death panel, just like the veterans. Newspapers are claiming it's a wording glitch. Obama law professor says, I wouldn't bet on law survival. Of course it wouldn't survive if there was any justice in this country. Here's the problem. Boehner, every time something is found unconstitutional or found to be a total fraud or found to be completely wrecking the system by design, goes in and says, we'll just pass an amendment to, quote, fix it. Because the very same special interests that run Obama are the ones that wrote this bill, this bipartisan nightmare bill, written by the blue blood, rhino, neocon, country club, kleptocrat, crony capitalist, anti-free market, anti-gun, knuckle-dragon, snot-nosed aliens. And by the way, I was introduced this last weekend to a term I didn't know about. I mean, I learned about wall Martians 5-6 years ago with that popular website that shows all the bizarre weirdos with back breast and the rest of it at Walmart. And people were out walking around in their underwear. And I was introduced to a term called aliens. And I said, what's that, an illegal alien? And Anthony Gucciardi said, no, 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 no. And he gave me the exact term. Go ask him the exact term. It's something alien. And it's these trust fund, multi-generational trust fund rich people who literally are completely disconnected from reality. They don't have any social skills, and they just wander around, living in their mansions or their high-rise apartments, and will just walk over to your table and start, hitting on your girlfriend right in front of you, and just have no connection to reality, and don't realize how socially awkward and weird they are. And now that all these trendies are moving to Austin, and all these trust fund people who have been on trust funds for 50 years, and I'm meeting them and running into them, as a Texan, I'm not somebody who's been exposed to a lot of this. And these are weirdos.
Hey, Alex.
Yes.
The term is just aliens.
It's just aliens.
Just aliens. Explains it all.
So you've heard of that too?
No, Anthony filled me in.
But then people who were talking to, having dinner with, they all knew they were called aliens, and I guess that's just the term.
Younger variety's a trustafarian, or just trust baby. Well, when they get old, they're aliens.
Exactly. These Republicans are a bunch of disconnected aliens. The trust fund Republicans have no idea how much danger they're in. And that when this system comes down, they're not going to be left alone by the Democrats they've made deals with under Cloward and Piven and the collapse of the society. And these people are just as weird as the wall Martians. And you've got all these billionaire and millionaire Democrats. Democrats on average, I just saw an article in the Wall Street Journal last week about it, are richer and have more money than Republicans. Hillary Clinton's worth hundreds of millions of dollars that we know of, and then runs around giving speeches about how poor she is. And again, she made her money in inside swindles and cattle deals and frauds on record. Bill Clinton, in an audit last year, spends 50+% of the 20, 30, 40 million, depending on the year, money that comes into his stinking foundation. And what does he pay for? Mansions and private jets. You have to pull the report up from last year. We covered it. I want to say he spent 15 million of it or something on just the jets alone. $15 million on the jets to fly around to be paid $12 million in speaking fees. They just threw that headline up. $12 million in speaking fees, and he won't even pay when he's going to get paid $1 million as a delayed payoff to give a speaking event. Bill Clinton Foundation has spent more than $50 million on travel expenses. There you go, New York Post. But it was $15 million just last year to fly around and to be paid by governments and others $1 million per speaking engagement. Hillary's paid a couple $100,000. And then the money to fly there comes from people that gave money to his foundation to help black Haitian children. You're not helping black Haitian children. You're helping Bill Clinton on a wide-body $50 million jet with hookers. You want to know where your money for Haiti went? It went to Bill Clinton on jets with hookers. Porn stars, you name it. That's where your money goes. Get that through your head. And I'll hand it to him. At least he's not raping women these days. At least he's paying them. The point is, I'm done with this fraud. These people are disconnected from reality and are building a system. I'm sorry. It's $106 million they've been paid in speeches. See, I'm just going from memory. Bill Clinton's $106 million speech circuit windfall, CNN. That was a year ago. And the reason I'm throwing out different numbers of 15 million here, 20 million there, 30 million there is different articles will quote different time periods and, different areas. Does Bill Clinton have a secret blonde mistress codenamed Energizer? I don't know, do bears live in the woods? I'm sorry, I've got all this news, and I've now gone off the reservation as usual. How did I even get to this point? The Democratic leadership, the Republican leadership, the whole system is disconnected. There is a report out today from the Congressional Budget Office looking at the number of green cards that the Senate immigration bill would provide, and it is enough to admit every single person in Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Folks, that is Twilight Zone level. There's already 30 million people here. Let's bring in 150 million. The country will collapse before another 20 million are brought in. I mean, this is a military attack on the country. While Bill Clinton is flying around on luxury $50 million jets costing $15 million a year, loaded with hookers, with money from little black kids, stolen from little black kids. I mean, if there's a hot place in hell, we know where he's going. And it doesn't matter. You go out to the average black person, 90% vote for the Democrats, and they'll say, shut up, crackerhead. I love Bill Clinton. You're just mad. He's the first black president. If you want to abort black people, if you steal the money from the black babies, if you are a total criminal who's a racist on record and part of the party that founded the Ku Klux Klan, then you're loved by the average black person. I mean, I can't take it anymore. If your organization was founded to fight the Ku Klux Klan like the NRA, you're called by black commentators the KKK, by Jamie Foxx and everybody else. I mean, you talk about ignorant. You talk about upside down. You talk about screwed up. You know how guilty I would be if I took any money for orphans and kept the money for anything but administrative? That's why I like the Salvation Army. They spend 90% of the money on the direct aid. That's where I give money. And I'm not saying they're perfect. But, man, I tell you, Bill Clinton, 50+% of the money is spent on him. Him. Over 80%, look it up, is spent on the organization. I mean, these people are sickening, disgusting, filthy, just drugged out scum.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
How Matt Drudge changed the world, that video special report we premiered here on the air yesterday, is up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com as the top story right now with about 1,800 comments on it. And I'd wanted to do a whole article about it, but I think we're going to write that article and then add it to the video that Drudge is top linked to in the middle column at drudgereport.com. And about 97% of people on YouTube voted it thumbs up, but I noticed the 3% of trolls got very, very, very upset. And we're like, why are you groveling to Matt Drudge? Why are you... See, they don't want us to celebrate victories we've had for freedom of the press. Because regardless of what you think about Matt Drudge, he is an icon of the underdog being successful. It's pure Americana, American dream. And we need to celebrate examples of where grassroots media supplanted state-run media and has the establishment pulling their hair out. And I know I shouldn't even respond to trolls, but I just love explaining why I love to talk about our successes and other people's successes. You see, I revel in other people's successes. I revel in an inventor coming up with a Barrett 50 cal in their garage and making billions of dollars. I revel in someone coming up with a better sprocket and making billions of dollars. I revel in someone writing a beautiful symphony and being celebrated. I revel in someone coming up with a pacemaker that saves millions of lives. When I see somebody with their private helicopter and their mansion on the hill who made their money the old-fashioned way, producing things to empower humanity, I absolutely celebrate them. But I don't just celebrate the fact that they have baubles. I celebrate the fact that they are winners. And did it swimming upstream and is the major icon of the new media renaissance revolution. Like they call it Gutenberg's press, because Gutenberg invented it. When the histories are written, if humanity survives, Drudge will be the central name, the logo, to a great extent, the symbol of the beginning of the end of information control. I mean, that's a big deal. And so we should do more videos celebrating that. When I get Joseph Farah on and I celebrate the Western Journalism Center, I mean, it was at the top of the list of the Clinton enemies list to be shut down. That was declassified this year. And Joseph Farah has thousands of pages of it and hasn't even released it all yet because it's so damning and so dangerous, they're worried about being sued. The stuff and the names that are in there. Only 35 pages got released, and it was shut down Joseph Farah, shut down WorldNet Daily. If they're able to grow, this is before WorldNet Daily, this is like 93, 94. If this happens, the people will have control of information. It will cause a revolution. It will cause a renaissance that will end our monopoly of information. I mean, those are quotes, man. This is heavy. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton wrote this thing. It was sent out to the media to say when someone questions us, you call them a conspiracy theorist. You call them an extremist. They still have that playbook today. So I have WorldNet Daily on, even though they're not perfect, even though I don't agree with them on every issue. They don't agree with me on every issue. I'm not perfect. I hear rebroadcast all the time where I disagree with what I've said because I didn't say it with the exact parlance that I intended. I mean, it's come out in Politico, how the Clintons get people kicked off MSNBC that even mildly criticize them. They're thugs. They're scum. When I admire trailblazers and I admire the real John Wayne type characters of this nation's history, like George Washington, I detest the polar opposite, a 180 Hillary Clinton and people like that. I mean, there's no movies about George Washington, folks, because he was so epic, how incredible he was. They don't want you to know that you belong to something that cool. I mean, if they made a movie about it and it was accurate, it would be unbelievable. So see, they don't want us celebrating our successes. Well, you know what? I'm going to do it. Alex Jones here for Infowars.com. We're going to be intensifying our efforts to awaken free humanity to the scourge of the globalist in the month of July. And starting this July 4th, we are going to slash prices in a celebration of true Americana, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and the Declaration of Independence on all of the Made in America products that you will find at madein1776.com or InfoWarsStore.com. We're talking about Made in America belt buckles in brass and nickeled brass that state it loud and proud. Molon Labe. That's why we have the best-selling Made in America men's and women's Molon Labe Infowars.com shirts. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a win-win. You vote with your dollars. You support the most hardcore organization out there for promoting true ideas of libertarianism, constitutionalism, basic human empowerment. But more importantly, you get T-shirts and belt buckles so you can meet like-minded people. So you have a conversation starter with friends and family and coworkers. We are reaching out to each other. And you also throw it in the face of the anti-gunners and the rest of the parasites out there that you're a free man and woman and that you're not going to be a slave, that you're not going to be intimidated to shut up by their tyranny that they call political correctness. That's why in the month of July, we have got giant specials on everything at madein1776.com. But to expand the InfoWar, we're offering the biggest special in the history, 13 years of PrisonPlanet.tv, our multimedia platform. We're offering the equivalent of more than 5 months free right now when you get a membership at PrisonPlanet.tv, and you get 11 memberships that can be used with the same username and passcode so you can share it with friends and family. Now is the time to fund the war bonds. Now is the time to fund the InfoWar. Now is the time to get aggressive. Now is the time to double down. Now is the time to realize you are the people that made the InfoWar so successful and one of the leading lights worldwide against tyranny. You don't stand behind us, you stand right beside us, and I salute all of you on this July 4th, 2014, and going forward in the month of July and onward. This is about freedom worldwide and that desire for human dignity and self-determination that beats in the human breast. We are brothers and sisters together in the true spirit of liberty and the animating contest of liberty. And so I quote in closing the great Thomas Jefferson that I have sworn on the altar of God resistance against every form of tyranny. And never forget, if you are watching or listening to this transmission, you are the resistance.